Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Professionally Speaking. Um, I would like to thank all of you for taking your time to come and watch episode one, and I hope this is a journey that we can go through together. Professionally Speaking is a career podcast where we go into 8 episodes dissecting 8 different careers for you to learn and understand. I am your host, Rahan Ali Mohammed, and with me today I have a psychiatrist, a doctor, Dr. Imran Versi, with me today. He is a doctor by profession, and it's I think a doctor is a profession that many people have a thought of getting into or are into right now. Dr. Imran, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Rehan. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. So I want to go into, like you. Who are you? What do you do? Your education.
How I identify as well, right? Yeah.
If you'd like to, yeah.
So my name is Imran, and I am a medical doctor by profession. So I was born and raised in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, and I studied at the medical university by the name of KCMC, which is in Moshi. And thereafter, I did my internship at the National Hospital of Tanzania, which is in Dar es Salaam, by the name of Muhimbili. And then currently doing my specialization in psychiatry at the University of Nairobi. So yeah, it's my first time coming to Kenya.
Okay, I hope Kenya has been nice to you.
Yeah, so far it's been nice.
Okay, that's good to hear. So how long did it take for you to become a doctor?
So a general practitioner, it took me 5 years. So certain countries do their undergraduates, their MBBS or their medical degree for 5 years, and some other places they do it for 6 years. For example, I was told University of Nairobi do it for 6 years, but outside in certain places in the UK, in India, in Tanzania, we do it for 5 years, and then the 1 year compulsory internship after the 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, so is there any sort of other education to become a GP?
So ideally, every country has its own laws. In Tanzania, you have to do your A level. So I did Cambridge. So I did my AS and A2, and majority of the medical universities require you to have done physics, chemistry, biology. So the PCB combination is a necessity. It's a prerequisite before joining the medical college.
And how you mentioned an undergraduation to get into medical school, do you have to maybe do an undergrad in chemistry or biology, or can it be anything?
Yeah, so once you do your ASA2 in physics, chemistry, biology, that A2 results of PCB is enough to get you into med school. So there's no other requirements.
And can anyone become a doctor?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have good grades, because the competition for medical school is quite high. So sorry, I'm getting a phone call in the middle of of this podcast. Let me just put my phones on silence. I hope it's not an emergency. No,
No
it's not,
worries.
thankfully. Yeah, so yeah, I mean anyone can become a doctor. I mean it's many people have this fear that doctors are, they read too much. I mean, of course, the requirement of reading is there. The only difficulty with med school is that there's a lot of stuff to read. There's a lot of reading to be done in a very short period of time. So I remember when I finished my A2, because in AS A2, yeah, you have one book. Like for example, physics is one book, half of it for AS, half of it for A2. Same with biology, same with chemistry. And then when I got into med school, and we were told that the anatomy textbook is like double the size of my physics textbook for 2 years, and there's an exam after 4 months. So it's not it's just the difficulty is that there's too much to read in a short period of time. So my first year was the most difficult year for me. First and last. First, because I was not used to having to read so much in a short period of time, but I learned from my seniors on the smart way of reading. They told me that there's stuff that you need to know, and these are the things that will be asked in the exam, etc. And videos really helped me. I mean, we have videos on YouTube, different channels like Osmosis, etc., which really helped me through my med school. So yeah, anyone can become a doctor. I mean, you just need to be able to study. You need to be able to take in that pressure of reading a lot in a short period of time.
So why did you become a doctor? I mean, there's so many other careers out there, engineer, pilot. So why a doctor?
Well, because stand-up comedy isn't very much wanted in Dar. Uh, no, but I've always, I mean, I remember when I was 2 years of age. Well, I don't remember, but my parents told me that I always used to, when we used to go to a toy shop, I always used to go for the, fake, the plastic stethoscope, the plastic injection. And when I was young, I used to get very sick very often. And whenever I used to go to the doctor's office, I used to see that doctors are very much respected. Whenever a doctor passes by in the community, maybe in a mosque setting or in any gathering, uh, people usually refer to each other by their name, but the doctor is given that prestige, the respect. That, hi doc, welcome. And so I always liked that. But when I grew up, more than that, I also realized that it is something that I've always wanted to be. It's not like I wanted to be something else and then I got into medical school. No, I've never been interested in professional dancing or something like that. So medicine was the only option for me. There was no other option.
So you didn't have a backup plan.
To be honest, no, I did not have a backup plan. It was either medicine or okay. My second option was dentistry. I remember, but medicine was, I think, the only option. I put dentistry as number five. Yeah.
So are you happy being a doctor?
Yeah, of course I am. Of course, it comes with certain pros and cons, right? I mean, the pros are what I just mentioned, the value or the respect for a doctor. The money is not bad, although we are underpaid in East Africa. But I mean, the cons are when you start off as a junior doctor, you get a lot of night shifts, a lot of calls, and then when you go into residency, it decreases, and then when you become a specialist, of course, it weans off. So you have lesser time, lesser hours per day to work. So that's an advantage. In the beginning, it's a struggle, but then after that, it's not bad.
So you mentioned about pay, and that was going to be my next question. On average, how much do doctors make?
In Kenya or in Tanzania or both?
In global, we can just say global average.
Of course, UK, the US, Europe pays a lot. They pay insane amounts of money to medical doctors. When I say medical doctors, now I'm talking about general practitioners, right? A general practitioner's take-home salary in Tanzania, because it's a low-income country generally, a doctor would make anything between $800 to $1,000 take-home per month. In Kenya, it's higher because of the economy. In Kenya, looking at $1,500 for a general practitioner to start off as a starting salary. But of course, once you specialize, it's more. So, for example, once you become, let's say, a surgeon, any form of surgery, a bone specialist, an orthopedic surgeon, a gynecologist, or ophthalmologist, any field of surgery, when you take, you get your, of course, the pay is much more. It's double than the general practitioner salary, and on top of that, you even make per surgery as well. So yeah, the pay is not as much once you're done, but after you specialize, the pay is good.
So AI has grown a lot over the years, artificial intelligence. What's your view on it?
My view on AI. Did you get these questions from ChatGPT? No.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So
But
yeah.
a fun fact is, I got the name from ChatGPT. So professionally speaking, did come from
Oh, nice. That's
ChatGPT.
a very good question. So the question is, will AI take up the response or the job of doctors?
Oh, the question was, what's your
Oh, what's
view
my
on
view on
AI?
AI? Let me ask ChatGPT. No, my view on AI, I mean, the artificial intelligence tools and apps that have come up right now is insane. I mean, you can actually put somebody's photo in a video setting and you would think that it's that person. So it's really insane. However, I would be lying if I say I don't use apps like ChatGPT. I do use them occasionally, especially when it comes to writing emails. I think they are awesome when I have to write professional emails. For example, if I write my patient's reports, before attaching the reports, I have to write an email which is quite descriptive. And so I write it up and then I just ask ChatGPT to improve the grammar, and it really helps me out. However, I've tried not to use it very often because I noticed that the more I was using it, the more, I mean, the lazier I became. So I feel that when people start relying or depending on such AI tools, they stop reading because then your vocabulary cannot improve anymore because you're too reliant, too dependent on such AI apps. So on one hand, I think they're really helpful, but on the other hand, I feel that their use should be limited.
So do you fear that AI could, become, a general practitioner in the future? Because, I mean, I'd seen a video where a robot was, doing surgery on a grape. So,
Hmm.
do you think it's possible that, in the next, 50,
Yeah.
100 years, we are going to have, medical doctors where they're going to be diagnosing us, giving us, health
Hmm.
care?
So, leaving the 50, 100 years apart, even now, there are certain applications where if you go and you write down your symptoms, say vomiting, nausea, fever, back pain, etc., the app will actually give you a list of possible diagnoses. And then the app will also give you a list of investigations to do. So it's there even now, whereby you could use it as a substitute. However, so there's two things. One is the general practitioner part. Many times in medical general practitioner settings, you have the doctor giving you a physical exam as well. Unfortunately, AI, as of now, I don't see it doing that, giving a patient a physical exam. But on the other hand, when it comes to my field, the field of psychiatry, because this is my field of specialization, I feel that that's an impossibility because, as you know, psychiatry combines a mixture, is a combination of a mixture of physical, psychological, behavioral, emotional symptoms. An AI will not be able to assess a mental health status of a person when the person is talking to them or ask the right questions. So you need that emotional part as well of somebody who is with you physically to be able to assess your mental state. So within the field of psychiatry, I don't see that happening. But with general medicine, there's a possibility to some extent, but not entirely.
Okay, so is the career competitive? I mean, right now you can go to a hospital and you have all these different doctors there. So is it competitive to get into and to stay into?
So fortunately for me, psychiatrists are very, very few in East Africa. If you look at the statistics, you'll find that psychiatrists are one of the medical specialization fields that we have very, very few psychiatrists all over. And even globally, if you look at the specialty, for example, child specialists, pediatricians, or internal medicine specialists, physicians, or surgeons, or gynecologists, they're quite high in number. Although in our countries, in African countries, we obviously do not meet the requirement of the WHO for the ratio of a number of patients to doctors. The doctors are very few. I don't know about outside, but in our countries, there are very few. Psychiatrists are really, really rare. And you see there are many hospitals that have many specialists, but you won't find many psychiatrists in that setting. So in that case, I'm fortunate. And speaking of general doctors as well, we have a lack of medical doctors in our countries, especially in East Africa. Of course, we do. So the reason that maybe you find that there might be many doctors. See, the thing is, many doctors opt to go for these big hospitals, right? The likes of Aga Khan, or here we have MP Shah in Dar, we have Aga Khan as well. The reason that they opt to go for these hospitals is because of the pay. It's quite good, and the services you get. However, apart from those hospitals, if you go to government hospitals, you will find that there are like probably so many patients and there's one doctor. And there's a huge line of patients waiting for one doctor. So, of course, there is a lack of doctors, generally speaking.
So is there space for more people in, my generation, a few generations before me, and coming generations to become doctors?
Of course, there is, especially in our countries. Like I said, there is a big gap when it comes to the requirement of doctors. The gap is too big, and I mean, the more the doctors, the more patients will get catered for.
So do you see that as an issue now, like, in Kenya, in Africa? Do you see that there's an issue where we are facing, you know, more patients and less doctors?
Yeah, of course. I remember I went once to a government hospital in Dar, and there were like 400 patients waiting, and the doctor hadn't arrived yet. And so I asked the head nurse at the triage, "Is there another doctor?" She said, "No, there's just one today. For the whole day, there's just one doctor doing a 24-hour shift. There's like 400, 500 patients waiting with their insurance cards, waiting for the doctor." So of course, the reason is because we tend to rush to these big hospitals. We forget that Africa doesn't just have three hospitals. It has many, many more. And in those hospitals, you'll find that doctors are not there. So of course, there's a need for medical specialists.
So what solution would you give to this kind of problem?
Well, the solution would be to have more doctors, to increase the pay for medical doctors. Many doctors do not like going to work in such hospitals where there's actually a need for doctors because of the pay and because of the number of hours they are made to work. Instead of 8-hour shifts, they're made to work 20-hour shifts. And no one would prefer to go to such a setting. So I think by increasing opportunities for medical students, by increasing grants or loans, by increasing the pay scale for pay grade for doctors, by decreasing the number of hours that they work, a conducive environment generally for doctors, I think many more would pursue this field.
Okay, so I want to move on to the last question for today's episode. What's one piece of advice you would give someone thinking of entering, thinking of becoming a doctor?
So, one piece of just one. Can I give two or three? No, one is okay.
You can,
Because I've got a brain freeze now. One advice that I would give. So my cousin wants to become a doctor now. He's just finished A2, Form 6. We say Form 6. I don't know. Do you guys have Form 6 here as well? So we have form systems.
I no, I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah, even we
okay.
do
So
here.
basically Form 6 or A2, right?
Yeah.
Before starting medicine, and we had a chat, and I told him that you have your 2-month holiday now. Sleep as much as you can, eat as much as you can, gain weight, no problem. Because once you start, it's not like it's you when you start medicine. Many people think once I start medicine, once I become a doctor, once I study medicine to become a doctor, I won't have time for anything else, which is false. I mean, when we were studying as well, we had time for football. We had time. I mean, it doesn't show now. I play sports, but I used to. So you do have time, of course. It's just that you need to set an hour or an hour and a half every day so that you can study. Because it's impossible for you to follow the same route that we usually follow in school, which is I'll study a week before exams. It is impossible to do that for med school. I mean, it has to be a continuous process, because end of the day, what you are studying is you are studying to save lives. And so it is important for medical students to set a timetable. That timetable is extremely, extremely important. I remember when I was in school, I used to wake up whatever time I want. I used to bunk classes the way I want, come back, sleep, play FIFA, go to sleep again. But with med school, there I had to sit down and say this is becoming too much, because when I look at the timetable, I'm like I have to study this many pages, and in a month I have my exam. It's impossible for me to say I'll do it later or procrastinate. So one advice I would give medical students is it's not impossible. It's very much doable. If it was impossible, we wouldn't have hundreds of doctors graduating every year. So if they can do it, anyone can do it. You don't need to have a baseline IQ or say this much to become a doctor. No, but having a timetable, having a set timetable daily, really helps for you to pass properly and to become a good general practitioner. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Imran, for taking some time out of your
Not sometime,
night
but
to
so
do
much
this.
time.
I really appreciate
Yeah.
it. No, thank you. I really appreciate it. To the viewers, do stay tuned for episode 2. It will be coming out soon. Follow us on our socials, Instagram and YouTube at Professionally Speaking. From me and Dr. Imran, we are out. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and we hope to see you soon.